Hi, my name is Olivia Votal, and we're back here on day 3 of our attempt to make our own homemade starter. As you can see though, we're missing one jar, and that's because that little test lab baby was dropped on its head by one of my children. That child's name will remain unmentioned on this video, but just know that I had nothing to do with its demise. Luckily for us, we had a backup plan. Remember, on day 1, I told you that or maybe it was day 2, one of those, we made an additional set of starters. And you can see that the beginning of this process on day 1. Now, on day 2 is when I showed you just how much action was happening, how much fermentation was already going on. So if you want to see what these looked like yesterday, go to day 2 and watch that video. So let's take a look now at what we have going on. You're going to notice that there aren't very many bubbles on the side, but there are still some on the top. Now, unfortunately, I think these have already peaked. I think the starter already peaked and has already collapsed. I probably should have fed this guy last night, but I didn't because I was busy and I have other things that I've got to do with my family. So I didn't get to it, but we're doing it today and I feel we're going to be okay. Now this is the half whole wheat, half all-purpose. This is the 100% whole wheat, and let me show you this one. Again, not very many bubbles, if any, on the sides of the jar, but you can definitely still see some fermentation bubbling up on the top. Okay, and we'll take a look at our all-purpose jar. This isn't from the original batch, as you remember, from 2 minutes ago when I deleted the sad end of that initial jar. We have a lot going on here though. And this one smells really sweet and it's really good. And you can see some bubbles, small bubbles, but you can see that on the sides. And you can definitely see some bubbles on the top. So this one's looking really good. Now today we're going to start the feeding process. And I'm going to start with my all-purpose. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on my scale. I'm going to zero out my scale. Okay, it's important that you zero it out with the jar on top of it. It's at 0, and now what I'm going to do is we're going to take half of what we put in out. I'm just going to throw it out, and then we're going to add an additional 60 grams of water and 60 grams of flour. So if you recall, we started with 60 grams of water and 60 grams of all-purpose flour. But now we're going to take half of that out, just leave half of it, and then we're going to add, all right, so that's 24. I need to get, all right, we're almost there. Okay, perfect. All right, this is great. So now I'm going to zero this out again, and I'm going to add 60 grams of water, filtered water, okay? Zero it out again, and then I'm going to add 60 grams of all-purpose white flour. I'm only going to do this once. I'm only going to show you on this video once on this particular jar. Okay, I'm done with my scale. I'm going to mix it really well now. But I'm going to do the same process for all of my other jars when I'm done here. And this is when I'm going to start to transition all of my little test lab babies to all-purpose, white all-purpose flour. Even though we started one with 100% whole wheat flour and another one with half 100% whole wheat flour, this is the time where I'm going to start to just transition them all to all-purpose flour. All right, so that's mixed in, and I'm going to use my spatula here to scrape down the sides. All right, that looks good. We're gonna put the lid back on, and this is gonna go back on my counter for another 24 hours. All of these are gonna get fed right now, and they're all gonna sit on my counter, and we'll be back here in 24 hours to see what's been going on. All right? Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.